Hey guys, Terry Red here, and in this video, we are going back to my Virtual Pinball Software Essentials series, and we are talking about Pup-Packs on top or Pup-Packs on desktop, the basic Pinup Player setup. So if you are at this video, then I'm hoping you would have watched the video I'm showing you right now, my demonstration of Pup-Packs on a desktop, and to give you an idea of what you can do. And this video is just going to be the initial Pinup Player Essentials setup. I'm going to have separate videos for the specific super heavy duty details for Visual Pinball or Future Pinball or FX3. But this video is covering the main install and setup of Pinup Player for a desktop setup. All right. So before you got to this point, I'm hoping before you even going through this video that you would have had a basic understanding of Pinup Player and Pup-Packs and roughly how they work for each system, and that you've watched this demo so you can see for yourself what to expect when it is working. And then, of course, you would have all the essentials software installed. That means everything I go through in my video here, which takes you to the Pinup system install wiki page, and you'll go from beginning top to bottom. You'll install everything in order. Oh, sorry. Actually, you'll first you'll click on install, and then this takes you to this page, which is then giving you every link and instructions on how to set up everything you need in order for Pinup Player and Virtual Pinball in general. It doesn't matter whether you're Future Pinball, Pinball FX3, or Visual Pinball, you have to install all this software. It is all eventually going to be required one way or another. And then follow through every single thing. Don't skip a step. Don't argue with it. Just do it. All right? You're going to save yourself a lot of hassle by doing it the right way the first time. And then you should eventually be getting up to the point where you're ready to install Pinup system files, which in this case, we're only talking about Pinup Player, because you do not need Pinup Popper to play Pup-Packs. You only need Pinup Player. And that's the point where you're at right here. So you should have all your emulators running perfect already. So if you need more info on that, I have a Visual Pinball and Future Pinball videos that guide you through setting those up correctly. And I also have a DOF links video, which is essential if you want to do Pup-Packs on Future Pinball or Pinball FX3. All right. So you should be now at the point of having all your software ready to go. So now I'm going to go through a very quick basic Pinup Player install, and just to show you again to sort of refreshing in case you haven't done everything correctly. I'm going to show you what to do for that. And then you have to make sure we're up to date with Pinup Player. All right, so you guys are at the point where you're going to be installing Pinup Player. Again, you would have installed this and had everything ready to go. And so we'll be down here installing Pinup Player. So again, whatever you see here and whatever current video guide is listed there will trump what I'm showing you in this video, because this video could be out of date by the time you go to this page. But everything I'm doing here is in line with what you see on the 1.41 version. So you click on the download file, and you're just, well, I already have it, but I'm going to just do that anyway. All right. So, oh, actually, I did need that. Hold on. Now, I highly recommend always using 7-zip for your downloads, and I highly recommend right-clicking on the zip file. Where are we here? Right-click, Properties, and make sure it's not blocked by Windows. Very important. You don't want to have blocked files. If you do, you're going to have nothing but headaches. And then use the newest 7-zip to extract the files. Highly, highly recommended. And then be sure your antivirus is disabled while you are installing any Virtual Pinball software, and make sure that you will add an exception to where you install Pinup Player. So where we install Pinup Player is you're going to want to make a folder called Pinup System, and you're going to want to add an exception to that folder for all your antivirus. Personally, I don't use antivirus on my PinCab, but if you're using this on a desktop system, then make sure you have antivirus, make sure it has an exception for Pinup system and that it's disabled while installing software. Very important. Now, I install everything to my Pinup system folder, as does pretty much everyone else. I highly recommend you do the same. So don't let this folder confuse you, because you're not dragging this folder over. You're going to actually be putting all of these files into the Pinup system folder, because Pinup Player and Pinup Popper both install in there. So that's I just wanted to make sure people don't get confused in that. So you'll make your Pinup system folder, and then you'll drag and drop all these files into there. Now, I already have mine set up, so that's why I'm not going to do it. So once you've done that, then at that point, now we just have to do a couple of simple little things before we do the actual setup. So first things first, you have to make sure that your B2S server plugins are correct. So that's going to be this folder here. These are the B2S server plugin files. So on older installs, we used to just copy that directly into this folder. I recommend not doing that anymore. What we're doing now is we're just creating a shortcut in here leading back to this. So just like, I'll show you. Like I'll just make a copy and paste shortcut, and that's it. You don't have to rename it. You don't have to do anything. That's all you need to do. That way you don't have old files in here left over. Very important. I recommend doing it that way. So there's that. And then the next step you have to make sure of is, and again, that was in your Visual Pinball tables, plugins folder right here for all your B2S server plugins. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to go into your Visual Pinball V Pin Name folder, and you would be copying over all of these files here. You would copy them over here. Now, again, I've already got mine, so I'm not going to copy them over. And then you would want to go over to Pup-DMD Control, right-click, Run as Administrator, and that's it. Like, you're not going to get a fancy message or anything like that. And that's it for installing your files. Just make sure all of those are installed and they're not blocked, and that should be it. The only other thing you may want to double check is it depends on what version of Pinup Player you have. For this application, for this video, you will want to have at the very least Pinup Player 1.4.3. That may or may not have been released depending on when you installed everything. But what you're checking to be absolutely sure of is 1.43 is installed. And you want to make sure that you have this guy right here, Pup Win Position. He is what we'll be using for this application. And you have to make sure he's in this location in your main Pinup system folder, or wherever the Pinup Player, where are we here? Wherever Pinup Player EXE is located. That's where you want to make sure Pup Win Position is located. Now, if you don't see him there and you're not sure, I temporarily have it with my Pup-Packs on top download page, which is what we'll be dealing with in this video. I do currently have it here. If you don't see it at that time, then that means Pinup Player 1.4.3 has been released, and it was included with that update. I do temporarily have the 1.43 beta on here for now. Just check on this post for the most up-to-date information. Right at the bottom here. Hold on. There we go. All right. So I do temporarily have the beta on here, but the official full release will be coming out, or may already be out. But what you need to do before you ever install a beta, you have to make sure you are up to date with Pinup Player. So you will click on here for the change log releases. It was this guy right here, if you missed that. Okay. That's the newest updates to Pinup system, which is Pinup Player and Pinup Popper software. All right. The newest update will always be at the top. As you can see, 1.4.2 is the latest official release. And the beta release is currently 1.4.3. So just make sure you have this as a minimum after you have installed the newest updates here first. Okay. Bottom line is, a beta always goes on after the official install updates are installed. Okay. That's the way it always works. So once you are up to date with all your files, that should be good for the installation of Pinup Player. So that's just a quick refresh. So now, I guess we'll have to go with our setup of Pinup Player and its displays. Okay, so now that you're ready to set up Pinup Player after copying all the files over, and you've verified everything based on what I showed you in the video. So now all you got to do for basically registering Pinup Player, you have to do this the first time. You only need to do this once. You go right to here, Pinup Player install bat, right click, run as administrator, and then that's it. And you should get a window that says the operation has successfully completed, and you'll have a pop-up like this. Now your individual windows that will pop up for each of these may be different than what you see in my video. That's because I've already set mine up. Don't worry, we're going through the whole process here. Now, if you aren't sure about how to set this up or you didn't have time, don't worry, you can exit out. Pinup Player has been registered, so technically Pinup Player is now fully installed. So now, if you want to set up your displays, there's a couple ways you can do that. You can click on Pinup Player Config Displays Bat, and then that will bring you to only this. It's not going to register a Pinup Player anymore. It's just bringing you back here so that you can configure your displays. Or you can run the Pinup Pack editor, or the Pup-Pack editor, and then click on here, and it does the same thing. Okay, so that's to configure your default Pinup Player displays. All right, so now we're at that point of where we're going to set everything up. So I'd recommend following along on my download page here. If you're not sure, everything we do go through everything in this for what you need to do. And it gives you more explanations on how everything works and how to set up the displays and everything. But I'm just going to go through the basic process for Pinup Player for you guys. Just to reiterate, what we're doing is making sure that Pinup Player displays are in the top corner so that they are not obscuring your game, your table. So that's what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to set up right now. So what you could do is you could get yourself either these pictures here that I display here as a reference. All of these guys that I'm showing you here. You could use those as a reference. Now, those are my 4K setup. In this video, I'm actually doing it in high def, not 4K. They're just a reference if you want to use those. And what you could also do is run each of your emulators and get like a screen that you can use for reference. Like, for example, I have a Pinball FX3 here already set up, or Wizard of Oz. You could use these as a reference if you want. It's not a bad idea. And what you can do is you could set your wallpaper as one of them to make it a little easier. Actually, hold on a second. We'll go like this. So you could just set your picture. Choose your wallpaper. So I got a few examples. Like, for example, I'm just going to show you here. Like, this is the normal view of Future Pinball that most people use. But, maybe some people prefer this view as an example. So it depends on how you like to play. I recommend a default, so that's going to wind up looking something like this in the end. This is kind of our end goal here. So that way, you're going to be good to go for each system. So create one generic display setup is what I recommend. So what you could do is use this WAS as an example. It's actually not a bad one. So that way you've got everything set up visually. And then you go back here and you configure your displays. So we have a whole bunch to do here. So we have, for most Pup-Packs, you have what is the back glass, which is what you see here. You'll have a topper, which is what this guy is over here. Actually, hold on a second. I'll make it easier to explain here. Most Pup-Packs have what is normally the back glass, which is your pinball cabinet's back glass. So that's what we're going to set up on the top right here. Then they have topper videos or under videos, which are usually either above the back glass or under the back glass. And that's what this video over here is. So you can set that up. And then, of course, you'll have your normal DMD or dot matrix display, which is normally set up in the top corner. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use these as a reference. And just, you can minimize all those guys. So right now, you can see my topper is in this position here, roughly. Again, you guys can do it however you want, but I recommend going in the order that I'm showing you right now. So first things first, you're going to want to set up your topper in the top right. And for high def, this is what I'm currently using. Can we refresh this video? Let's see here a second. Oh, there we go. Okay. You could just cycle through to refresh the video. It should pop up just fine. So as long as you're happy with the positioning of where you're putting this video, that's fine, but you need to have the correct width and height. Now you're wondering, well, how do I know what to use? Well, for the back glass, you have to have it as a 16:9 ratio. Very, very important. So the easiest way to figure that out is bring up Paint, and then let's resize to a 16:9 resolution. Oh, sorry, you have to uncheck this guy first. And we're going to do 1920 by 1080. That's a normal high def resolution. And then you're going to hit OK. And then you can see we have a normal 16:9 image. But now what you do is you can use this to figure out your math. So if you figure out how wide you want this guy to be, like let's say I got 600. Like if it was lower than 600 and like a big square, I might not want that, right? But let's say I go to around 600. I'm just going to do this. So that's how wide I want it to be. If I'm not sure how high it needs to be, so it's 16:9, then that's super easy. Now I can just go back into Paint and I can choose resize, go to pixels, make sure this is enabled now, and then I just change the width. And now I have my height right there automatically. Now, depending on how it rounds out, this may be, a 1 pixel off. But the point is you want this to be a 16:9 ratio, and that's an easy way to figure this out. So then you can just do your value there. I rounded mine up to 338 just to make it a nice even number. And that's it. And then you can see it's still a 16:9 ratio, just of that size to match for what we have up there, right? So that's what you do for figuring out a 16:9 ratio for your back glass. So what I recommend doing is setting up by default your back glass in the top right, just like you see right now. And then back glass layer 2, make sure it's exactly the same width, same height, same position. Again, you can position it wherever you want and make it whatever size you want. Just make sure it's 16:9. Very, very important. The topper, that's going to be on the left. That's going to be ideally on the left side somewhere. And you do need to use topper videos for this to work. We'll go into that more later when we get into each system. So if you're not sure, again, what to set here, what you can do is look at the Pup-Packs that you plan on running. And for example, let's see, Jaws. Sure, I'll use that. That one's handy. So I have my own topper videos here. And then you can just run it, run properties, and look at the resolution I have. Now, it may be different by the time you actually get it, but this is what I'm currently using right now. So 1920 by 562. Again, go back to Paint. 1920 by 562. Hit OK. And you can see it's matching correctly. And then now I just got to figure out how wide I want that to be, right? So in this case, I've already got mine set up, but yours may not be. So position it where you want it to be, but then figure out how wide you want it to be. So in this case, I have mine at 584, and this is for high def. And then all I got to do is enter this because I've already got the correct ratio. 584 by 170. And so even then I got mine off a little bit there based on the video. So I could set that right there like that. There you go. And that's it. That's all you got to do, guys. Super, super, super simple. And then you do the same thing for topper layer 2. You just make sure it's matching exactly. So I'm going to do 170. And then both of those are matching the exact same size and position. And then those are the main ones. Now DMD, that's pretty simple. You just put it in the top left corner and then make sure it's 4:1. So I have the width of 640, divide that by 4, and that gives you your height because a DMD is exactly 4:1 ratio. All right. So that's it. We have our 2 topper layers, our 2 back glass layers, our DMD. And then now for playfield, just make that the whole screen because if you wind up using a Pinup Popper desktop theme, then you'll have to do this anyway. So make that your whole screen. The music, what you're actually going to do is you're going to actually make that exactly the same as what you have for your back glass, but only positioned on the top left. Now that's used for any tables that may have a bigger Pup DMD type display. I don't have one showing here, but some of them will have a display like this, but it's like a full 16:9 visual. And that's what that's for. So make sure your music's up there. Menu, you can make it the full screen if you want. It's not really used. Same with game select, not really used. For game info and game help, I have just been putting them in the top right because if you're using Pinup Popper, you can use that for like game cards or instruction cards while you're playing the game. And you can push up a certain button or a key and it'll pop up while you're playing. Again, so I just make sure that matches my back glass exactly. And that's about it. Now, as far as the setting of the default state, you can see I've got all of them except for music. I have all of them set to off except for music, which is set to hide. All right. But yeah, they're all set to off because the Pup-Packs are going to make use of overriding whatever we have here for this setting anyway. So, and whether it's a Pinup Popper or another front end, or if you're just using the Pup-Packs by themselves with no front end, it's all the same. So just you can set them all to off, except for music. That's fine. Set that to hide always sound on, and that's it, guys. So you exit out, and that means you've set up your Pinup Player, and you're good to go. Now you don't have to keep this back glass up here the whole time, but I will show you something that is kind of important to understand. So we've now set up Pinup Player and our screens for desktop use. Our basic default setup is ready to go. So is that all we have to do? Actually, technically it is for our display setup. However, here's what I recommend doing. Go to your Pinup Player INI. So this file here is what we have just set up. Everything that's in here, right? So what I recommend is making a copy of that and just make any folder you want. Sure, we'll do that. Pup Player. Sure, why not? All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a folder in here called default. And I'm going to copy that Pinup Player INI file in there. That way I know I have a good backup to use. But now I'm going to make a different one for, say, Future Pinball View 1. That's what I'm calling it. All right. So remember I showed you that maybe you have a different view that you may not want to use the same down the line. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to personalize. And we're going to change up our picture. Now, again, I got these ahead of time. You guys can get these however you want, but these are what I did for my own reference because you have this one, which is what will work with the default, no problem, that I just set up, or you have this one. So maybe you don't want to have the same setup for that one. So I'm going to set it up for this one now. Okay. So now all you got to do is, again, go back to your Pinup Player setup, your config displays. And now for this, I just like minimizing all that. So you could see, look how that's going to override the table. That's terrible, right? So you may not want to have that set up that way. Yeah. See, like, look how huge that is, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it much smaller, like maybe 500 as an example. All right. Let's see if that's the width of that would be pretty good. I think that would be okay. All right. So let's say 500. Now, again, I got to figure out my 16 by 9. So let's do this. 1080. And then now I have my width, which I'm going to use as 500. So let's try. So there you go, 500 by 281. So I'll try 282 just to make it a nice even number. And that's a little better. You can see that gives you a better idea of how that's going to look. You know, and that might be fine for most people. So that's going to be my back glass. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this just a little easier for reference. Hold on here. Okay, so now I'm going to make sure my other back glass matches. So 500, what was it again? By 282. All right. Okay, and then it's going to be 1420 by, we'll make that 2. All right. So there you go. And you would do the same for your topper equivalent. I'm just doing this really quick. I'm not going through the whole thing. I'm just showing you really quickly. You would go through that for your toppers, and you would do the same thing for your DMDs. That one's actually not too hard. Let's try maybe. Let's try 500, just like the other one. Yeah, that should be fine. And then let's try our calculator because I'm terrible at my math. 500 divided by 4 for a DMD is 125. Oh, God. Yeah, I know. That's pretty bad. All right. So there we go. And now you got your DMD there. You can make it bigger or smaller, but I'm just doing this for the sake of displaying. And then for the toppers, again, it's up to you guys. So let's try 584 by 170 as our original size. Shoot. 584 by 170. Hit OK for that. And then, so now I don't want that wide. So let's try 500. Let's see if that'll be good. That should be okay, I think. And so now I just do the resize. So 500 by 145. There we go. And because the DMD is smaller now, I can actually put him up there, right? Let's see there. Where was he? So put him, yeah, that's pretty good actually, right there. So we can bring that over. All right, so 500 by 145. All right, by 145. And then position 2 by 116. 2 by 116. There we go. And that's it. So now we have our toppers, our DMD, our back glasses, all set up for an alternate view. And that's it. Now, again, that could be for anything. It doesn't have to be specifically for Future Pinball. That could be for your visual pinball table that may have this specific kind of view that you actually like and want to use. I'm just showing you an example. Now, you're wondering, well, do we need more than one? Well, it's up to you because you have the option to have a custom setup for each Pup-Pack. That's a new feature with Pinup Player 1.4.3. So now that we've done that, again, we'll do like we did before. Copy. And we'll go, where was I? Pinup, there we go. And I put it in there. And there you go. So now I'm good to go. for my setups for Future Pinball and for the default. So now that I'm good with that, I'm going to put my default back because I like using that for most everything. Okay. All right, there you go. And then now, to avoid confusion, I'm going to put my thing back. I don't want to have that as a picture all the time. Okay, so now we are set for our initial setup for Pinup Player. We have our INI files ready to go. And the only other thing we need to do is you would then need to figure out what you're going to use with what Pup-Packs and how you're going to set up your DMD size. For example, let's see here if I have an example. For example, like FX3, we use DMDX. You have Ultra DMD for Visual Pinball, and you also have DMDX for Visual Pinball. And for Future Pinball, you don't really have to use an external DMD program like Future DMD. I don't think I even have one showing here. No, I don't. Let's see here. I don't know if I could see it in this picture. Okay, so this is actually showing Future DMD as an example. And in this example, I had the topper up here, right? You don't have to use that because Future Pinball has its own built-in DMD that can be displayed as well, as do the others. But we're not covering that in this video. Those will be covered in the specific per emulator videos. I just wanted to get the initial setup done. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you very quickly what I mean by copying the INI files over. And then after that, that's all I'm going to really cover in this video. I just want to show you the basics. So once you get to this point, you should have been following this page as well by having everything set up. And then you check to make sure all your emulators are set up correctly as well. Now, in this case, the big thing you need to do is set up borderless windowed mode for each emulator. That means it's not exclusive full screen. It is not any kind of exclusive full screen whatsoever because it won't work. The Pup-Packs can't display on top of your emulator window if you use that. So that's something I'll mention in each video for their own setup. But that's one other essential thing that has to be done. And then once your emulator is set up and ready to go, which mine already are, so I'll show that in the other videos, then you'll be copying over files that you download from my webpage here, which are the pupinit.bat files. Now, what are those? What the heck is that? What's the point of that? The way Pinup Player works is when a Pup-Pack is run, the Pup-Pack, when it first gets initialized, will look for a specific file in the Pup-Pack folder. If it sees this file, it will run that file. And this is what I use to help manage all the different windows for Pinup Player and for the emulator to make sure they're on top of each other and still displaying and you can still play them. That's the whole bottom line of what we're doing is getting our Pinup Player set up correctly, our emulators set up correctly, and then our Pup-Pack set up correctly. And I'm going into more detail about that in the other videos, but I'll just show you real quick. Now, you're going to want to download all of these. You can download them in one shot, actually, if you want. I'll just call it Pup-Pack on top. Oh, my caps lock is on. Okay. And then you'll have all these guys here as well, or you can just extract them in the same folder. Where are we here? That's just as easy. And then you're going to have them all in here. All right, so now we're at the point where we've downloaded everything we needed to have. We've installed Pinup Player for desktop use, and we've set up our Pinup Player screens in the top corners so that they'll be positioned ideally for our default layout that can be used with anything. And we tried an alternate one that can be used on a specific table or Pup-Pack if we want, as another example. So we've got that set up, and we've also downloaded our pupinit.bat file examples that we got from our Pup-Packs on top page here. So we're ready to go. And now I'm just going to quickly demonstrate why we did everything we're going to do and how it's going to work. Basically, nothing too in depth. I just want to show you that everything you've done was for a reason and how it will quickly work in a couple examples. So first things first. All right. So we already have our default INI set up the way we want. So we don't need to copy one over to run just any old Pup-Pack. So what we do need to do, though, is we need to copy our pupinit.bat file. And what that file is, these guys here is, again, you go to your Pup-Pack. You'll download and install your Pup-Pack into the Pup Videos folder. As you can see here, this is where all Pup-Packs go. And in this case, let's think. Yeah, we'll do the Jaws. Why not? We'll use that as an example. So this is my Future Pinball Jaws Ultimate Pro Pup-Pack. And in here, you're going to see I already have a couple files in here. But these will not be in there. This is what you'll normally see, okay? You'll just see these 3 files and everything else. So what we need is we want our Future Pinball Desktop Only batch file in there, okay? So what this is going to do is when the Pup-Pack, the table gets run, then eventually the Pup-Pack will get initialized. And then when that happens, the Pup-Pack looks to see if this file is in there. If it does see that file, this file gets run. And this file, if you look at it, these commands here are what's going to basically manage our emulator and our Pup-Pack windows from being arranged so that everything is visible and in focus correctly. That's basically what this file is being used for. And this is the Future Pinball desktop version that I just dragged over. Now, you may, depending on how slow or fast your system is, you may need to make some adjustments to these 2 commands here, but everything you need to know is in this file. So don't worry about that. But by default, it should work fine. Then the other thing you'll need to do is you'll need to copy over your INI file. Now, in this case, we're not going to copy one over. I'll do that afterwards, and I'll show you the difference. Okay, so here I'll go back into that Pup-Pack folder just for a second. All right, so now that we've got everything ready and set up. Now, in my case, I already have DOF links ready to go for Future Pinball. It's already set up. I'll go into more of that in the Future Pinball specific video, but first things first, you have to have DOF links running, okay, for any Future Pinball table with a Pup-Pack. Because DOF links is what communicates from the table to Pinup Player. So now I'm just going to bring up Future Pinball using BAM, of course, and I'm going to run my my updated table with the Pup-Pack. So now the table is going to run. Now in the background, DOF links is trying to communicate with the table, and it's waiting for the table to completely start up and then communicate back with DOF links. Once that happens, DOF links will then start the Pup-Pack, and then the Pup-Pack will pop up. And then the batch file will run, and then everything will get sorted out in a matter of seconds. So the table has started. So after about 5 or seconds or so, then the Pup-Pack should start up. And then just give it a moment here. There you go. The Pup-Pack just started. Now it disappeared, and the reason why is the batch file was run. The batch file has forced the Pup-Pack to be told, you're gonna be on top, but Future Pinball is gonna be on the bottom. And it takes so many seconds for all that to sort itself out. And now you can just see it's all working perfect. Everything's lined up, and it's all in focus, and it's working. Super simple, nothing too complicated. And that's it. But we have a problem. What if you didn't want to use this view on this table for some reason? Like, let's say you wanted to use this view. Well, look how big those videos are and how much they're sticking out over top of the game, right? So you may not want that. So what do we do about that? All right, so what you need to do is, give me a second here. Now with Future Pinball, you have to close out Future Pinball before the Pup-Pack closes out. So now DOF links detected feature pinball is gone, and it closes out the Pup-Pack. That's how that works in a nutshell. So now let's say you wanted to use feature pinball in a different way. And this applies to visual pinball or anything else. It's all the same thing. So what you do is you go to your INI files. And in this case, remember, we made that alternate view version for Future Pinball. So now we just copy this guy over to the Pup-Pack folder. And there you go. So now we have our customized Pinup Player setup only being used for this one Pup-Pack and the batch file that's needed to make sure everything gets sorted and arranged correctly. So now we're going to run it again. So now we're going to run BAM. Every time you exit a table, you have to close out Future Pinball completely so that DOF links will be cutting off the connection correctly. Every time you're done playing a table, close out Future Pinball and then reopen it again every single time. Now, if you have a front end running like Pinup Popper, for example, then you don't have to do that because the front end will do that automatically every time you exit the table and launch a new table. That's the whole point of a front end. So now we're going to run the same thing. It should all still run just like it did before. Now you'll notice I positioned the DMD up there, and oh shoot, I clicked on it. That's not what was supposed to happen. Hold on a second. There we go. All right, and now you can see we have the smaller Pup-Pack screens being displayed. So if I go to this view, now it's perfect.
Chief.
And there you go. Working perfect with that view. And again, because it's Future Pinball, I mean, you can like have a scrolling view if you want, or if you want to have a different scrolling view, or if you want to have this view or that view or that view or this view. You know, you got lots of choices with Future Pinball. So, and there you go. That's it. Super simple. You know, once you have your initial stuff set up, then you can just copy and paste the files you need on a per Pup-Pack basis, and it'll work fine. And then I'll do a quick visual pinball example. So, let's see here. Sure, we'll do Transformers. So now we're going to run visual pinball, and it should, I hope, run correctly. I remember if I left it. Okay, good. So now it's going to run, and sure enough, the Pup-Pack is showing up. And then if you give it a moment, everything will pop up and look correct. And there you go. All working correct. And you exit out, and the Pup-Pack goes away. And that's all there really is to it, guys. Now, again, I did the same thing with this one. I copied over the batch file to the Pup-Pack that I used for that visual pinball table, which was Transformers, which is this one in here. And you can see I've got that batch file. Now, I use a different one for that one, which is VP no front end. Again, you may have to make some adjustments or whatever you need for your particular setup for this file here. But for the most part, they should work correctly if you're using the right one. But there is a little more involved than what I just showed you, and I'm going to go more into that on each video. But to put it simply, if in doubt, if you're not sure, go to this page, go to the support topic, and everything you need is all on here. All of it's there. Everything you need. Okay? Should cover you for pretty much everything you could ever want right there. And that's it. So that's all I'm going to do for this video, guys, because I don't want this running too too long, and I'm going to need to cover the basics for each emulator more specifically with their own unique setups. So yeah, so that should get you all up and running for the basics of Pup-Packs on top for a single screen desktop use. And if in doubt, go to this post and watch for my follow up videos for each one to help give more specific clarification. And yeah, thanks for watching. And I hope you guys are able to enjoy these awesome Pup-Packs on your desktop setups. Thanks for watching. Bye.